Saudi Cap and welcome to Tinglish Lifestyle. I'm Perry Stevens, and in this video we're going to be discussing living in Thailand. Now, I've been living in Thailand for 7 years now this month, and the videos I see about living in Thailand are generally people who are, what it appears to me, are on extended holidays or living in a bubble, an expat bubble, or a digital nomad. I have lived in kind of all of those areas, but now I've been living in Thailand for 7 years without living in a bubble, an expat bubble, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So, if you'd like to find out how I do that, and some of the things I like and some of that I dislike, things I found that I discovered while living here that I didn't know as a tourist, I didn't know when I first moved here, then stay tuned. It's all coming up in this edition of Tinglish Lifestyle, living in Thailand. Okay, so a little backstory to my time here in Thailand. I'm from England, the UK, and I used to travel for most of the winter, or a couple of months of the winter, for years. And I came to Thailand one time and loved it. Didn't like Bangkok so much. I used to get out there, but Bangkok was a great place for exploring the rest of Southeast Asia. So I then had an opportunity. I was in Laos actually at the time, and I was in a production company at the time, and I saw it was about 2008, so the economy was tanking, and I saw advertising and the future of advertising basically went on more online rather than what we was doing with our corporate clients. So I set up my company and transitioned to online. That allowed me the freedom, instead of working in central London, it allowed me the freedom to work anywhere there's an internet connection. Now this is like 10 years plus ago, so internet was pretty poor, and especially out here in Thailand it was very bad. So first of all, I went to Koh Chang Island. This is one of the nicest places I visited when I was first in Thailand. So I really kind of fell in love with the island basically. So I moved down there, still kept my place in London, but I moved down to Thailand into Koh Chang and lived there for an extended period of time, down in Lonely Beach, which is right kind of the southern end of the island. It's kind of like the little party town, if you like. So I stayed there for a few months, and the transition of moving from London, where I had a really good crazy lifestyle, and switched on there and plugged in, to living on a small island, where everyone kind of knows each other and everybody knows their gossip and etc, etc. I went a bit green around the gills really. So I ended up thinking, right, this is not really for me at this point in time. So I moved back to London, and then I got my shit sorted out for a couple of months, got rid of my flat, etc, etc. Sold everything, gave it away, whatever. It was a very cathartic thing to do, and you realise the stuff around you kind of owns you. You don't own it. It means nothing. The amount of money you spend on it and what it's actually worth, just get rid of it. Don't need it. So that's what I did. Moved back out, but this time I moved to Bangkok. Now, I never liked Bangkok, but I moved there anyway because it was more of what I was used to with London. So I moved to Bangkok. I got a great apartment on the riverside. My standard of living went straight up, cost of living went straight down, and then I didn't know that many people here, so I just worked online and built my business up, which is 10 years old now, this year as well. So that's really good. That's gone very well. That's incorporated in Singapore now. So that's my backstory to how I arrived in Thailand. So I lived in Bangkok for 3 years, I think it was. Yeah, about 3 years. Mainly in Chao Phraya in Thonburi district. Really nice place. I had 2 apartments down there. Both fantastic places. I had maids, I had swimming pool, a gym, all the usual stuff. And if I was paying for that on the Thames in London, I hate to think of what I'd be paying. But down there, I think I was paying, I can't remember, but maybe £300 or £400 a month. So very cheap. You got a lot more for your money. Food, very cheap. So it's really good. So anyway, we'll come on to food and cost of living in Thailand in a little bit. But first of all, let me just recap. So I lived on Koh Chang. So I moved to Bangkok, and then when I met my wife, we went back to Koh Chang. So we lived on Koh Chang this time for 2 years. We lived in Koh Chang, which is I think it's it is actually the first village as you get off the ferry. So not many tourists kind of stay there or stop there. They usually go through the White Sands and Lonely Beach and Kai Bear and stuff like that. So we just lived kind of, we had a nice place, and we lived there for a couple of years. But we was always looking around for a place to buy, because it's an island, and 80% of the island is national park, and all around the island is a marine park, national marine park. Its land is available is very limited, and what is available is very expensive. There's a couple of like private resorts and all that kind of developments, but I never wanted to live next door to my neighbours, being like 2 meters away in a house that is virtually exactly the same. There's kind of no privacy. So all that's very nice, but it wasn't for us. And then as you live there for a few years, you do notice like the infrastructure of the island, it's quite quickly actually if you're not on holiday. The infrastructure in the roads are pretty bad. The taxi drivers are lunatics and very expensive. I'm sure there's some nice ones, but I didn't meet any. The actual sustainability of the island is pretty poor. There's water issues all year, and the more people who live there, more people holiday there, there's going to be more issues with water. They actually have tankers coming from the mainland pretty much 24/7. I think as long as the ferries are running, there's water coming in. That's just not a sustainable way to live. We actually live in there, run out of water on several occasions. You just run out of water. You have to buy a tanker full if you can get hold of one, but when you run out, everybody else has run out as well, so it's not a way to live. So anyway, we was always looking for a place to buy and actually put some roots down, and we kind of realized after a while that we just wasn't going to find what we was looking for on Koh Chang, unfortunately, even though I still like the place. It just wasn't going to be a long-term place to stay. So we started looking on the mainland in Trat province, which is just off the mainland, just from the island onto the mainland, and we started looking around here, and prices like a tenth of the price that they are on the mainland. So it makes it very, very affordable. So we bought a couple of rye, and we paid about, I think off the top of my head, I think it's about 360 rye, about 360 baht per rye. We bought 2 rye, just over 2 rye. So it's that's like about an acre, which is more than big enough for what we wanted to start off with. And then we built our house here, which is like a shipping container, which is one of our best videos on YouTube. So we're living in a shipping container, well, 4 shipping containers. So we put roofs down here, we built a fruit forest and lots of other things, and Gater, my wife's in-laws, we built a small house with them, and then there's a restaurant down at the front as well called Tinglish Lifestyle. Sorry, that's called Tinglish Kitchen. So we've kind of set up our base down here now, and then recently we've bought a farm. So the farm's a 3 rye fruit farm, and that's a 3 rye with a 2-bedroom house that cost us 1.2 million, which is nothing really. It's I bought it. It was like it was one of those investment opportunities you get that you can't really lose on. I put some money into the infrastructure, fencing, irrigation, cleared it out loads, planted a lot of cacao, which is chocolate, and we aim to produce chocolate bars in the future, bean to bar chocolate. Sorry, it's very hot. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's us living in Thailand. We're kind of pretty settled. I live in a rural community. I don't know many expats around here, to tell you the truth. I don't tend to go to the bars and stuff like that, hardly ever. I kind of passed all that drinking. I did all of that in London, and when I first came to Thailand, and kind of over all that now. I think I drank my share to last me the rest of my life. So that doesn't really bother me at all. But living in a very quiet community, it's just us and the birds, which is fine by me. I know a lot of people, a lot of expats would probably go stir crazy living without fellow expats around and things like that. But actually, I prefer it. I'm very industrialist. Got several businesses and investments and lots of other things we do. So I'm always busy. So just to hang around and talk shit doesn't really appeal to me at all anyway. So that's us living in Thailand. So moved to Koh Chang, lived in Bangkok, moved back to Koh Chang. Now we're living in Trat, just outside Trat, and we've got a base down here, and we've got a farm. So that's us in that's been married 4 years, so that's me 7 years. That's 7 years living in Bangkok, 7 years living in Thailand. So what other things do I like and dislike about living in Thailand? Let me tell you. Number one, well, I like the freedom and the privacy that is here, that's obtainable, which sounds like an oxymoron considering we live under a military junta. Still, I was in Bangkok when the coup took place about 4 years ago, and there's just recently been elections, but they're still waiting, probably nearly a month on, still waiting for the results. So don't know what's going on there. But anyway, but the freedom is great. I mean, you can pretty much do what you want here. You stay, as long as you stay within the law, people don't hassle you. You don't get any problem from the police. Immigration, I've had immigration pop down here just to do a spot check, and but everything's kosher, so everything's good there. I do my 90 days every 90 days, so which is the 90 days. I go to the immigration office and just let them know where I'm living. They stamp a bit of paper, and I go back and see them in another 90 days. Just done a video on that. If you want to see that, I'll put a link below. But the freedom here, we went back to the UK a year or so ago, 2 years ago, and I can't believe how many cameras are there now. I mean, there was lots when I was living in London, with congestion charge and just cameras everywhere, every building, every traffic light, even if you drive right down up to the north, there's probably a camera on every single bridge monitoring you and photographing you and generating revenue from you, like they can't tax you enough. So we pretty much don't have any of that. There's a couple of cameras in the whole town, I think, and they probably don't work. So driving around and things like that, you feel a lot more freer, and you're just left to get on with your life like you should do. I mean, it's just so much better. It's just I mean, what can you say? Freedom is the main thing for me. So I don't infringe on anybody's liberties and stuff. I don't want anybody infringing on mine, and that's kind of the anarchy way. But each to their own. And but I love it here. It's just like you get left alone. There's lots of freedom to do what you want. So I love the freedom. Now I see this a lot. The cost of living in Thailand. How much is it cost to live in Thailand? Well, the short answer to that is as little or as much as you want to spend. You can get by in probably less than $1,000 if you want to live under $1,000. It's doable. But if you want to live for $15,000 or $20,000 or $100,000 a month, that's doable too. So, I mean, the main thing is just live between your means. Live within your means. Get out of debt. Don't have you know, spend on don't spend money on credit cards for things you don't need. There's a lot of people come across here and they've got a bit of money in their pocket compared to back home because it goes a lot further. So they try to impress everyone, but it kind of runs out, and then that's the end of it, and then they go back home with their tails between their legs. But you can have a really good lifetime here if you just use your head a little bit. Who are you showing off to? Who are you trying to prove anything to? Appreciate what you've got, and then just live within your means. It really is that simple. I mean, the thing is, none of us get an education about money at school, and that's for a reason, obviously. So I would say, read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, that's probably the Bible to get anybody started. It's a very easy read. Read that, give you some ideas about how to manage your money and how money's actually made. What a whole mirage and a con and a Ponzi scheme the whole monetary system really is. But if you can play their own game, if you can make your money work for you, have multiple income streams, but the main thing is not what you earn, it's what you spend. So if you're out in the bars all night, paying for girls, paying for beers, you know, just doing crazy shit, then your money's going to go pretty quick. But you can have a good life here if you have something going on between your ears, and just, you know, be sensible, you know, about it. Still have a good time. By all means, have a great time. I don't say how you cannot have a good time, but just be sensible about what you spend your money on. Just think. I always ask myself a question. Oh, I'm not rich. I'm not poor. You know, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I guess I'm all right. I'm probably, you know, whatever. I'm doing all right. So, but I always ask myself, when I buy something, do I need it or do I just want it? And chances are, it's just a want. It's just something to instant gratification. And I have that little conversation with myself subconsciously every time, 9 times out of 10 I won't bother buying it, because I think it's just an impulse buy, and then I get it home and I'll stick it in a drawer or whatever, and I never do anything else with it. So by doing that, you can stash a bit of cash away, reinvest that cash, and make it work for you, and then you can have a far better life going forward if you start working on a few principles like that. So anyway, that's kind of another story, but yeah, cost of living in Thailand, again, as much or as little as you want to spend to attain the lifestyle you want to live, but don't live outside of your means, and then you can have a great lifestyle. You can have a great life. Surprising what you don't need. It's when you stop listening to all the advertising and stuff like that, all the bullshit, it's surprising what little you do need and what is important. You'll find out what is important, who's important to you, and those that aren't important, you'd have to impress them, and you know, just have a better life. Anyway, that's that. Next one. Weather. Well, one of the main reasons I moved out here was because of the weather. Obviously, I'm from England, so it rains pretty much 6 months of the year. It's freezing most of the time. It's just miserable. People are miserable, and the sun comes out and everyone's happy, and beers are flowing, etc., etc., and then it's back to normal. So I really dislike the winters. It's just depressing. They seem to go on forever, and so I used to travel every winter, so like December, January, get away from all that Christmas BS. I hate all that false Christmas stuff, and I used to just travel around the world, you know, South America, Asia, North Africa, wherever. Get some heat, get rid of all that Christmas BS, and see the world. So one of the main reasons I came here is because of the heat, but it gets so hot here. I mean, the sun is brutal. So it's not for everyone. It's obviously we've got flies and things like that, but the sun's brutal here, and it's very humid as well. So we have 90% humidity. You're constantly kind of moist, shall I say? Not wet, but moist. You can feel the sweat running down your back and things like that. So you know, that can be a bit uncomfortable. It has to get used to. And when I work on the farm, you really have to pace yourself. So I've been a few times. I just worked just for a couple of hours out in the sun, and you get so hot. Your body gets so hot. You literally can't take enough water to cool down. So it can mess you up a little bit. So you've got to do what the Thais do. Everybody says the Thais are lazy, but they're not actually lazy. They just live in the sun. And you work in the morning, first thing, have some breakfast, chill out for the rest of the day, work back in late afternoon. That's the best way to do it. I mean, I was just driving into the immigration office the other day, and the guys there putting a new surface on the roads. So I just followed a fly. Lovely, extra protein. Yeah, I mean that's hard work, and they don't have a choice, you know. And maybe they were earning between 300 and 500 baht a day to do that. I know I employ builders to work on some of our properties. 500 baht a day. Other people just cutting grass and things, 300 baht a day, which is like, you know, £6 to £10 a day, working in this kind of heat and stuff. So, you know, look after the guys, you know, give them a few beers and have to working for you and stuff like that at the end of the day. Not before or during, because I'll never work again. But yeah, so the weather takes a bit to get used to. When you're on holiday, great, that's all you want. You want some sun, get lobster red, and you know, bake on the beach. But when you live here, you pretty much don't go out in the sun. You certainly keep your clothes on. Don't walk around with the shirt off all the time. I'm sure lots of people that do, but it's kind of rude in Thai culture actually. And where we are, yeah, it's just have shorts and shirts. Just live in shorts and shirts pretty much all year. Maybe put a hoodie on or a hat once a year, twice a year. It gets a little bit cold in the evening. If you're in Chiang Mai in the north, up in the mountains, obviously it gets a lot colder in the evenings. You'll need a coat and hat and things like that. But down where we are, it's great. But it does get very, very hot and sticky. So, not for everyone, but I like it. It's all good. Thai time. Well, if you ever have an appointment wherever, I've never been anywhere where the appointments have been on time. So if I go somewhere to an appointment, well, maybe a dentist a couple of times. But besides that, most places I've been for an appointment, you just hang around for forever. Likewise, if you make an appointment with someone to come to see you, whether it's a builder or whatever, again, then chances of turning up on time or even on the right day is pretty remote. And then I'll call you maybe 2 minutes before, because it's just parked around the corner, and say, I'm going to see you today. Well, you can't. It's not a convenient time. So that making appointments and working with Thai time can be very, very frustrating, coming from the West, where, you know, we like to do things on time, get things done, and not waste our time. There's nothing more infuriating for me than sitting around wasting my time when I could be doing 100 other different things because some guy just can't be bothered or just forgot or whatever, you know. So yeah, Thai time. Not much to say about that. You have to live with it. You get used to it. It's like anything. Once you live here a bit longer, you kind of get used to it, and you can accommodate for it. You think, well, okay, and then be surprised when someone actually turns up on time, which is probably the best thing. So that's Thai time. That's the way it goes. Driving in Thailand. Well, driving in Thailand is quite an experience. If the Thais are number one for something, and that is the number of road deaths in the world. It's crazy, especially around New Year, Songkran. Just the amount of wasted life is unbelievable. But I'll tell you why. I mean, I live maybe a couple of kilometers from the Sukhumvit road, which goes from Bangkok right through to Cambodian border, pretty much. It's about 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers. So I live a few kilometers from there, so I jump on there quite often. I try to drive as little as possible in Thailand, but pretty much drive every day anyway. But when I jump on the dual carriageway, every couple of kilometers there's a place for U-turn, which is fine. But what people do here, instead of doing a U-turn, they cut across and then drive down the other side of the dual carriageway directly at you, just because it's slightly less to drive than going to the next U-turn. crazy. We had someone last Christmas just killed just on the top road here for doing the same thing. Just hit a truck and bang, that's it. 2-3 people dead. Simple as that. I see that every day. It's not like it's an occurrence that doesn't happen every once in a while. It's pretty much every day I go out and drive down that road, there'll be someone driving down the dual carriageway towards me on my side, which is insane. Motorcycles at night. Driving at night, driving in the day is bad enough, but driving at night is even worse because the amount of vehicles here that just don't have any lights, especially motorcycles. And if you've ever ridden a motorcycle, you know just how vulnerable you are on the road. Motorcycles here, I've nearly hit a few, only quite recently as well. And I just narrowly missed one. How I missed it, I do not know. But no lights. I'm driving down the back roads, back roads home because I'm living in the countryside. And before you know it, there's a motorcycle there, or a motorcycle with a kind of sidecar attached to it. No lights. So, you know, you don't see them coming towards you. You don't see them in front of you. It's insane. It's insane. And when I live on Koh Chang, the amount of people who are on holiday and don't wear a helmet. So these are people, you understand, that never ridden motorcycle at home. So they come on holiday, they think they're in Disneyland, they're on some crazy roads in Koh Chang, and they're not wearing a helmet because it doesn't look cool, or they want to get a funny tan line or something. I don't know what it is, but if you've ever seen a melon drop from a great height, that's kind of what happens to your head when it hits the tarmac, even at quite a low speed. So have that thought in your mind next time you're jumping on a motorcycle, because you don't want that for anyone. And when we was on Koh Chang, pretty much every day, we lived at the bottom of a very big hill, and every day picking tourists up, legs all over the place. And when you live on Koh Chang, there's no real hospital, so you had to wait till the next morning to get the first ferry across to the hospital on the mainland. So amount of people you see really knocked up, plus you're not insured. If you ride a motorcycle here as a tourist, you don't have the necessary license, etc., etc. So your insurance is invalid. So not only we have to pay for the damage on the motorbike, you have to pay for your own medical insurance, or to get your body shipped back to the UK or the States or wherever you come from. So yeah, roads crazy here, really just insane. So stay off them if you can. Oh, one more thing about the roads here in Thailand. Tests, the actual driving test. I've had quite a big experience from this. When I lived in Bangkok, I had a international license, so it gave me 1 year to drive anywhere. So I was here for a year, so I used to drive my international license. When that was about to expire, I went to the Department of Transport and to do my test to get a Thai license. So I did this test, and it's literally really rudimentary. It was like watching some video, really grainy video. There was, where I went, there's no English speaking people at all, but anything you do here with the government is all Thai, written and spoken anyway. But there's actually no one actually even spoke any English, but they looked at me very well. But they have 3 tests. One was a colour test for red and green colour blindness, so obviously checking the lights. They don't have amber lights here, it's just red and green, and funnily enough. And there's another one for like stop start, for just braking in a given length of time, and another one for depth of field. They're the 3 tests, and these are like old wooden kind of machine things. I don't know what they are. So really rudimentary. You do that. If you get it wrong, or you don't do it in the set time, you just join the back of the queue and keep doing it until you do. So everyone passes. Well, everyone's a winner. So did that the first year. Got my licenses. I think it lasts for a year or 3 years, and then I let it lapse. I just forgot all about it. So I started driving again, big time, when I started getting out of Bangkok. So I needed a license again. So I started again. This time I had to watch like nearly a full day of YouTube videos of car crashes, which is, you know, insanely boring. And then I had to do a multiple choice test on this little computer thing with everybody else in the class. And there's like 100 questions, or 70 questions I think, and you have to get pretty much 95% right. So I was probably the only person there who's been driving for 30 something years, and I was one of the people who failed, because the questions have been translated into English for me, but some of the questions weren't actually questions, they were statements, and the multiple choice could have been anything, you know, A, B, C or D. Could be any. I'll go for D. Oh, it's A. Well, what do you know? So anyway, I went online, found actually all the test online, memorized it the night after, that night, went back the next day, because you do have like 30 or 60 days to go back as many times as you want to do it. So I'm back the next day, passed 100%. So now I've got a license to last me for 5 years, and I won't let it lapse next time, so I don't have to go through all that again. It's just a complete waste of a day. So that's driving in Thailand. If you can avoid it, but there's no getting away from it. You gotta get transport. So even if you're in a minibus or a big bus, they're in so many crashes. They're not built properly or something. The weight ratios and things like these big buses. The drivers drive very long hours, drinking the Red Bull and things like that to stay awake, and obviously they just veer off the road. So you see that kind of stuff all the time. I hate to think how many hundreds of people die every year because of it. And then Songkran, of course, when people are drinking and driving and throwing water at you, things like that. It's pretty insane. So yeah, the roads here, keep them to a minimum. If you can avoid the roads any possible way, do it. I won't advise it, but I know you can't not go on the roads. But anyway, driving in Thailand, that's crazy. Thai food. Thai food. Everyone thinks Thai food, myself included, is very healthy. Now, I used to think Thai food was, you know, one of the healthiest foods out there until I started living here for quite a while, and then I realised that most of the fresh fruit, and there's bountiful fruit here. There's fruit everywhere. There's abundance of fruit, all kinds. Taste the best fruit in the world. The pineapples you get at home taste nothing like the pineapples you get here, because they're picked early and they're not ripe. They're only ripe on the plant. So anyway, the mangosteens, the rambutan, the durian, all these kind of amazing tropical fruits. You'd think they're very, very healthy. Everyone goes on about it on YouTube. Best food out. It's nevertheless shakes and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, most of those fruits are sprayed heavily with pesticides and insecticides, all kinds of nasty stuff on a regular basis, and then sold. So I know farmers. I'm in a farming community. My farm's organic. We're taking it over to organic, and the old owners and people around us always say, "Oh, just spray, just chemi," as they say, and get a good price, big fruit. And I'm like, no, it kills everything. We're going to eat some of it ourselves. Oh, don't eat it, just sell it. So they don't care. They just want about the money, get the weight up, sell it. Even neighbours who have mangosteens, who don't spray their trees, spray the grass to kill the grass. They put Roundup or whatever the equivalent is here on their grass around the trees. So it goes up to the trees. It's like a cycle of life. But they just don't see it. We got lots of people. So yeah, we grow veggie, organic and locals obviously, and they just spray the grass all the time. So we don't do that. But so Thai food isn't as healthy as you are led to believe. Another thing they do, lots of noodle places, when you go noodles or anything like that, they have MSG in it. They put up MSG in pretty much anything they can get away with, because they love it here. So MSG is a massive monosodium glutamate. Nasty stuff. It's generally Chinese food back home, so that's gives it a kind of sweet taste, a kind of a umami, I guess, sweet sour kind of makes you want more basically. So they put it in there. They just spoon it in. Another thing they do is shakes. Most of the shakes here, even though I live in like fruit country, the fruit basket of Thailand, if I go to most shops to buy a shake, which I don't generally do, is they just use the syrup. They don't actually use fresh fruit. So I only go to the ones that have fresh fruit, or we just make them at home. In fact, I prefer eating whole fruit because it's far better than having a smoothie. Yeah, they put a lot of syrup, so there's no actual real fruit in the syrup. And then if you do have like a banana shake, they'll probably put some sugar in it if they use a real banana, because it just make it sweeter. But I don't know what the thing is about sweetness. I just don't want sweet stuff and all that sugar and refined sugar and stuff like that. So yeah, look into it more. If you think Thai food's super healthy, it's not as healthy as you think it is. Believe me. So that's something I've learned living in Thailand. Fortunately, I've got 5 or 6 right now, and we grow all our fruit, most of our veg, and we're going to be doing it a couple of years. But in the next, as the gardens grow and the forest grows, we will be pretty much self-sufficient. Even though now we've got more fruit and veg than we know what to do with half the time. Just be more. Instead of ebbs and flows of the fruit and veg, we'd have more in abundance on a sustainable level. That's the aim here. So and then I know 100% there's no organic, there's no pesticides and anything like that. It's purely organic. But I don't call it organic, I just call it food. I think food manufacturers should label their products, all the nasty stuff in it, from the growing process to the preparation process. Organic food is just food. And when I was a kid, for a farmer to go organic and go through all that process and get accreditation and all the bureaucracy, I just think that's should be the opposite way around. I think we're looking at things completely the wrong way around. So our farm's organic. I always say it's beyond organic, because I'm never going to go down the route of doing all that bureaucracy to get an organic listing or accreditation. But it just doesn't. Just doing that kind of governmental bureaucracy kind of stuff is just also a bad way of doing things for me. So I just tell people it's beyond organic, and I can guarantee 100% that nothing's ever been sprayed on the stuff that we have and we produce here. So Thai food, check it out. This video is getting quite long, so I'm going to make it into 2 videos. So I'm going to cut it here, and the next part will be Living in Thailand Part 2, or a similar title to that, depending on what I call the first one. Okay, see you in the next one. Thank you very much.